your number one hype gal here, and welcome to the weekly warm up, your weekly dose to feel a little more confident and a lot more human. I'm Jess Rose McDowell, and each week I'll share life updates, mindset shifts, product faves, the little things that help me stay grounded, energized, and moving and grooving. Whether you're heading out for a jog, sipping your morning coffee, or just need a midweek pick me up, this is your warm up for living a real balanced life. So take a breath, shake it out, and let's dive in. What's shaking? What's poppin'? Hello, y'all. I missed everybody. Welcome back to the weekly warm up podcast. Last week we didn't have an episode, but that is okay. We all survived, and I'm hoping that that meant that you were able to catch up on some of the past episodes. But today we are going to focus on a lot of different things, actually. And the first thing I wanted to talk about, well, why am I already just bopping into everything? Geez Louise. Oh my goodness gracious. I am ready to get this podcast going. But no, today I am pumped because I wanted to give a little bit of love to beginner and beginner intermediate runners just because y'all deserve credit as well. And I know a lot of my episodes talk more advanced or talk more about what I'm doing. And then I also obviously give, mentoring and educational feedback. But I want to make this where some of those beginners or beginner and intermediate folks can really understand some simple basics that will get you set up and get you moving and grooving and on the right path. And then, of course, we'll dive into some fun topics and do the usual. But yeah, other than that, things have been going good. I've just been crushing it with events and run clubs. I have a lot of fun, amazing things coming up for May. So make sure you're following me on Instagram, Fit with Jess Rose MCD, because we've got 3 more events and then June is popping off as well. So I am just very thankful that everything is aligning. And also, too, I've been giving myself some grace to take some time, even if it's a day or two off social media, or if I had to skip a week of the pod because there was a lot of other things going on, that I need to allow myself and allocate myself time to rest. And I love a good bed rot day. We've talked about that before, but I love a good bed rot day. And I am implementing more of those, but by shutting off too, because it's super important. Anywho, let's dive in. Oh, wait, speaking of, if you're listening to this, it is May and we just started the virtual race for, actually, it's the race for every kid. And it's with Souls for Souls. It's a nonprofit that I have partnered with for the past 4 years. And the virtual race for every kid is where for the month of May, I am raising $5,000 or, that's my max or what I'm wanting to fundraise, but you're raising money and then you're also running for the kiddos. And $20 goes to one pair of brand new sneakers for a child that is less fortunate than us and that can feel confident going to school, confident playing sports. And it truly is just something super magical. I have already raised almost $1,000, and that was right before May 1st, even. So I'm super thankful to everyone that has donated, for those that have joined my team. So you can join my team, Moving and Groovin', and you can set a number of miles that you want to run for the month of May. Completely do it on your own, but it's just to bring people together and also support the amazing cause through Souls for Souls. So if you want to donate or you want to join my team or do both, again, go to my Instagram. One of my pinned posts has all the details in it. And of course, in my bio, there is a link that you can donate, you can join the team, do both, ask me questions, whatever. But uh, that's something that is happening and that is very, very important to me. And I think it's just always great to find something that brings you joy. And obviously, I love running. So, sneakers immediately when I got acquainted with Souls for Souls almost 4 years ago, or yeah, or 4 summers ago, I guess you could say. but it was really cool because we get to donate shoes. You can donate used and gently used shoes, but this is separate. This is a different program that they have that is part of Souls for Souls. So thanks so much for all your support and help. And I actually was very lucky enough to go to an elementary school about a month ago. Has it been more than a month? Maybe a month. Yeah, it's about a month ago or a little bit more than a month ago. Gosh, time is flying. I don't know. But this year, within a recent period of time, I was able to go to a North Miami elementary school and volunteer for the morning and help pass out shoes that were donated through the Souls for Souls for Every Kid program, which is where, again, people are donating money that you can purchase these shoes. And I was able to help these kids get fitted and help them get their brand new pair of sneakers. And it was so much fun. It was truly amazing. All the kids get so excited, and you just get to watch them maybe even get their first ever brand new pair of sneakers or something that they really liked. It's just really cool. So it is real. It is a great cause. And again, thank y'all for the support. It means the world. And now we can dive in. Beginner runners, beginner intermediate runners. This section of the pod is for y'all because though every episode I touch on so many different things, and I do think that a lot of the things I touch on can relate to all levels of runners, but I do think that there are more episodes of me talking about advanced running and an advanced endurance sport. And I wanted to just take some time to talk to the beginners and beginner intermediate runners about a few basics because I'm not going to give you a running schedule and I'm not going to give you all the tools because then you would have no reason to work with me as your running coach and mentor. So if you are interested, reach out. I'm your girl. It's a lot of fun. And I just wanted to give some basics today. First of all, this is for those that can run between 0 miles, meaning that you're just getting started, and 5 miles. And the full blown beginner would be the 0 to 3 miles. And then the beginner intermediate, which is like more on the beginner side, but you're starting to go into the intermediate, would be the 0 to 5, 0 to 6 miles that you can run. And then these are people that are running between 10 and 15 miles max if a week. Again, if you're running 0 to 3 miles, you are barely hitting the 10 miles a week. You might roughly hit, well, maybe you'll hit the 10 depending on how many days you're running. And then obviously, if you're doing the 3 to 5 or 3 to 6, you're doing probably about the 10 to 15. Okay, so we have that established. Now, if you are running 0 to 3 miles and during that time you cannot run 3 miles straight without stopping, and meaning you could have a pace of 10-minute to 12-minute miles, but you're still going, you're not having to stop and break, you shouldn't be worrying about zone two. I think that zone two is really great, but also it's more of your heart rate training because everyone's heart rate, obviously, with their age is different. And also, if you're a female, when we are going through our different phases of menstrual cycle, our heart rate can be adjusted because of that. And then also, too, whether or not you're taking any type of gels or um, caffeine, pre workout, that obviously adjusts your heart rate. And then just stress in general. You know what I mean? When you're talking zone two, it's more of that you're working on your heart rate and your aerobic running, and you don't need to be worrying about that right now. You just need to be worrying about getting yourself to 1 mile, 2 mile, and 3 mile without having to stop, regardless if it is a 10-minute mile or 12-minute mile. And I'm saying that because I am noticing just from obviously being on social media and, like I observe. I'm a very observant gal, and I'm noticing that a lot of beginner and also beginner intermediate runners immediately start thinking they need to start working on zone two. They need to be worrying about their running fuel when it comes to when I'm talking about running fuel, I'm talking about more of the advanced or enhancements, as in gels or chews, things to that matter, not electrolytes, not eating carbs, not nutrition. But they're focusing on things that are not necessarily what they need. And then they're also focusing on the aesthetic because running has become very, very popular. And with that means that you want to fit in, you want to wear the clothes, you want to wear the gear, you want to make those fun pictures, you want to get the tattoos on your arm. That's a thing. I've noticed that a lot of runners these days, it's like a grunge look that they're trying to pull off. And the brands are really, evolving into it too. But they're trying to pull off this look, but you're not fully focusing on what the actual purpose is of your run and your endurance. And not saying that you can't go out and have a fun time, with a run club, but I'm assuming if you're starting to run, you want to get better and you want to be good at it. And that might mean that you don't need to be wearing certain things and you might not be wearing even the right shoes for yourself. Going back, if you are 0 to 3 miles and can't, you have to stop to walk, you are not thinking about zone 2 right now. You are literally giving yourself time to walk, run to where you can get to 3 miles without stopping. And then from there, you'll start wanting to work on a little bit more of the heart rate. And then obviously, wanting to work on bringing down your pace, but that comes naturally, especially if you're running more often, meaning 3 to 4 times a week, and your body's adapting and you're able then to successfully run the 3 miles. Then from there, that's when, that pace naturally starts to get a bit easier for you. But I would also say sign up for a 5K. Sign up for a 5K 6 to 8 weeks. If you are 0 to 3 miles, fresh beginner, learning how to get to 3 miles without, walking, sign up for a 5K in 6 to 8 weeks. And that will give you something to look forward to and then also to keep you motivated. Or, of course, work with me and do both. But that's something that I always will tell people is, especially when you're getting into running or if you're getting to a new milestone in general, to have some sort of end game that you're working towards. It doesn't always have to be a race. It could be something else. It could even be rewarding yourself with something that you wanted. Okay, I don't want to be all material here, but if there's something you really want and you're like, if I do this, I will be allowed to buy myself that, then do it. You know what I mean? As long as it's getting you out, moving and grooving, then that's all that matters. Now, if you can run 3 to 5, 3 to 6 miles, I would assume that you are able to do that at least 3 miles without stopping, because then there's no point for you to be going any further. So if you're running the 3 to 5, 3 to 6 miles, I'm assuming that would be your little, your little one. I would assume that means that you're a little bit more going into intermediate, very beginner intermediate. And then that's kind of where you're wanting to focus more on the aerobic side of things and heart rate training, AKA zone 2. So that way you're able to obviously build up your endurance, build up your stamina, and then become faster, which then you'll work on that speed work and eventually work on that lactic threshold work. When you're running 3 to 5, 3 to 6 miles, that's where that zone 2 becomes important for you. And the only reason why is because that's where you're going to start thinking that you need to go faster or that you need to have certain types of expectations. And when you are able to run that little bit of amount, and I don't want to say that's not right to say, because you're only able to go a certain distance without getting tired or without having to stop, the goal then is to really focus on the heart rate so that way you can eventually go further. You don't want to focus on, okay, I can run 6 miles now, but can I run 6 miles at a decent pace? Let's say 9 minutes, let's say 8 minutes. You know what I mean? Okay, 8 minutes, that's more of getting into the intermediate. But if you can run 6 miles at a 9 to 10 minute pace, then the goal there is to be able to lower that pace first before you're starting to want to go more of the distance. Now, that being said, there are a lot of people in this world that have never ran a half marathon, never ran a marathon, and they want to start planning to run. That's great. You can do that, but you would still start out this way, if that makes sense. You wouldn't sign up for a half marathon and you've never ran more than 5 or 6 miles in your life. And the marathon is 4 weeks away, 6 weeks away. I mean, there are a lot of people that do. Don't get me wrong. There are a lot of people that don't even train for a half marathon and do it. That's fine. But the goal is to want to, one, not burn out, perform at your best, and feel like you're confident and ready to do it. And also then not get to a point where it's burnout or it's starting to stress you out where you don't enjoy it. So I would say if you are in that 3 to 5 mile, 3 to 6 mile range, sign up for like a 10K. You could even sign up for the 10K in the 4 week range, but I would say sign up for a 10K between 4 to 6 weeks. And then that allows you, again, something to look forward to, but also you're able then to focus on that heart rate. You're able to focus on lowering your pace and really nailing those miles. And then that's when you'll want to start adding on. And then that's when, again, like I said, you would start working on the lactic threshold and more of the speed work. Speed work could be done for 5 miles and for a 3 mile, especially if you're wanting to be more of a faster runner instead of a long distance runner or endurance runner. But again, that's more for intermediate advance. We're talking about beginner, intermediate. Now I want to talk about gear because, again, like I say, I get it that everybody loves fashion. Everybody wants to fit in and feel like they're trending with things. And I understand it. But for you, if you were a beginner and you're starting out, and I also understand too that any type of hobby or sport these days, anything is not cheap. I understand that. If you are a beginner, intermediate, your goal for gear is to have at least 3 pairs of sports bras that are high impact, that, won't make you rash, won't chafe, is sweat wicking, lightweight, is not covering your heat spots on your back, that obviously, if you are heavier chested, can hold everything in. And if you want to wear tops, 3 shirts, again, the same thing, sweat wicking, breathable, lightweight, something that is allowing you to move without feeling like you're restricted, again, chafing, things like that. And then 3 pairs of running shorts. Same thing as what I was just saying before. You can rotate those 3 things every week, wash them every week and do it again. You know what I mean? If you're running 0 to 3 miles, you're most likely running 3 times a week right now. 4 times is not a bad thing too. But what I'm saying is having at least 3 sets that you can even mix and match too. So if you're wanting to go on that fashion route, that's perfect. I understand that you want to buy the high tech gear or the gear that, cool run clubs are wearing or athletes are wearing. Go for it. If you want to buy it and wear it, I'm not saying don't, like, fit the part. But if you are doing it simply just to try to fit in and it's not working for you, then I would really focus on just getting 3 pairs of each. And with that, well, that kind of goes in with the sneakers and socks. So I won't talk about socks, but definitely if you are a beginner and you don't know where to start, 3 of each, 3 sports bras, 3 pairs of running shorts. And if you aren't comfortable just wearing the sports bra, then 3 tops and rotate it. Now, if you're planning on running 4 times a week, then do 4. I know it's not cheap, but at the end of the day, you're going to get your money's worth after 1 month. And from there, I cannot stress enough having appropriate pair of running sneakers that fit properly, that are not 6 years old, that you've used for 17 different activities and are not even appropriate running sneakers. They're walking shoes or they're lifestyle shoes. I have seen people show up to run in Air Force Ones. I'm sorry. I've seen people show up to run in Chucks, Vans. It is astonishing, but it's because they don't know. And also, they might not feel comfortable asking, or they're unsure, or they just think that's what it is. I'm going to throw it on. This is my first time and I want to get involved. There's nothing wrong with that, but I'm going to help you out. You want to just invest in a new pair of running shoes when you're starting, because they'll last you, especially if you're a beginner, for about 4 to 6 months, at least 6 months, I would assume, because every pair of running shoes should last you at least 100 miles. Now, if you are someone that it's advanced and really focusing on obviously running a lot and racing and things like that, you'll have multiple different pairs. And also too, you won't wait until that tread is like completely worn out. You really shouldn't do that no matter what, because that's horrible on your hips, your joints, your ligaments, your knees, etc. But having a brand new pair of sneakers that fit you properly is a game changer. And I promise you, you will notice the difference immediately. Now, if you've never worn a pair of running sneakers before, or have never tried appropriate running sneaker on, I suggest going to your local running store versus a shoe department. And I'm saying that because your local running store, one, has more options and appropriate options for running. Two, has the technology and equipment to scan your foot to see what type of running shoe is best for you with your arch, with how your foot is designed, whether both feet are the same, how it would work on the midsole, the outsole, everything. And then from there, they also are a little bit more, not even a little bit, a lot more educated on the running shoe because they actually have one-on-one relationships with the distribution companies for these running shoes or sneaker brands. So they have people coming in and teaching them about the shoe. And most people in a local running shoe or running store in general are runners, are interested in running. Now, those that are working in a department, like a shoe department, meaning think of like, I don't want to call out department stores, but a large department store. Those people are usually just getting hired. They're probably active people, but they're there to get the sale because the sale with commission. Now I get that's going to be the same with a running shoe store. Excuse me, not a running shoe store, but a running store. But they don't, you want at least have someone that wants to get the commission, which it's not really commission when you're doing it at a store like that. It's more about the sales, but someone that actually cares about the shoe that you're putting on and it's a right fit and the right size. Versus if you're going into a department store, they're going to sell you anything. You could look at a sneaker and be like, I want to be able to run in that. Can I run in that? And they're going to be like, definitely. They're not going to be able to, they don't care. They're not going to tell you yes or no. And they're not going to say whether this is a good brand for you or not. So I would suggest going into your local running store and asking for help, and they will be more than happy to help you. Now, when you're there, get 3 pairs of socks, get 3 pairs of running socks, get a pair of sneakers, and you're good to go. Period. You don't need gels. You don't need any type of running enhancement fuel. You are not there yet. It is not necessary. You don't need it. And the reason why is because right now, you giving yourself any type of running enhancement is actually going to it's almost like if you're taking, you're taking something to make you perform better before you even know the basics. So why not have your body learn appropriately and properly before you start shoving it down with extra carbs and caffeine and bicarb that with ketone that you don't even know how your body even responds to it just being appropriately hydrated. So I would say avoid all of that. Even if you're running 5 to 6 miles, I mean, you could if you're racing, like take one gel, but right now we're not even worried about that. Right now we're worried about you just performing on your own. Electrolytes, absolutely. Hydrating, absolutely. Having a designated bottle for your water, designated bottle for your electrolytes, 100%. And then obviously from there with your nutrition, protein, carbs before your run, protein and carbs after your run. If you are going to fuel during your run because you just feel like you need to and you want to fit in, or you feel like you have to because you're, whatever it is, carbs. And if you want caffeine, that's fine too. But that is what you should be focusing on. 3 sports bras, only holding up 2 fingers. 3 sports bras, 3 pairs of running shorts. If you want to wear tops, 3 tops, 3 socks, pair of running sneakers, really good electrolytes, 2 water bottles for each, and carbs before your run, carbs during your run, protein and carbs after your run. There we go. That is your starter pack. I nailed this topic. Yes, I nailed the topic. That's what she said. I love saying that. I'm not going to lie. It's probably really obnoxious. Most people probably think I'm annoying or that it is so outdated, but I don't care. I love it. You know me, I love talking about being a high performing woman, and that doesn't mean only professional wise. That can also mean domestic wise. Okay. So let's get that clear. Being a high performing woman means you're waking up every day and you're going and you're achieving and you're being motivated to whatever it is that you are doing in life and whatever it is that brings you happiness and joy and success and peace and all the things. And another thing is that we as women also have this energy auditing and delegation grit that I think we need to really focus on because again, as high performing women, we want to have our domestic life and our professional life very, very much even, but also handled and completely separate from the badass men that are partners and husbands and fathers that are helping. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about being in an actual good relationship. I'm talking about women that want to make sure that everything is taken care of, that they're crushing their domestic world, that they're crushing their professional world. And at the same time, they're really just putting so much energy out and so much grit out. And are we looking at whether or not we're auditing our energy and are we delegating it? Because sometimes we burn out because we realize we're actually giving too much of that energy and too much of that delegation out to the wrong tasks, the wrong people, the wrong places, the wrong things. And I think that's where, again, just society with us and with women, we want to do it all. And then if we can't do it all, we wonder why we can't do it all. And there's that stigma. And I also think it goes back to the fact that it's okay to want to be a mom and a housewife. And it's okay to want to be a mom and a housewife and have a career. And I find that today we're really starting to have this back and forth of, well, you wanted to be an independent woman and you wanted all this independence and now you've got it. And now you're complaining that you have too much independence everyone needs to chill out. Okay. Everyone needs to chill out. Everyone needs to relax. And the reason why that's starting to happen again is going back to how you're auditing your energy and delegating it. And if you are starting to feel burnt out by both areas or one area more than the other, that you can't keep them balanced, then you need to take a step back. And it doesn't mean that you need to adjust your goals or to adjust what you do in your personal life. I think it just means that you need to figure out about having some tough conversations with yourself and then at home. And the reason why is because you're putting too much mental load on yourself that is not necessary. And you can take some of that mental load off by one, obviously handing it to your partner because that's what a partnership's all about. Two, taking it off if you are wanting to personally for yourself take it off and say, you know what? I have been tapping into XYZ goals right now. This goal specifically, I can hold off on. Not meaning that you're giving up, not meaning that you're failing, but how can I generate my attention and my energy towards these that will then allow me get to that next area. And again, that just goes back also to time management and really laying out your goals of your baby goals and your bigger goals and how you're properly getting there instead of being a pinball machine and going in all different directions. Realizing that being a high performing woman also means that you're allowed to ask for help and you're allowed to set down certain things, or even just noticing small different tasks or things that you're doing around the house, the domestic load, as I call it, that isn't necessary. We as women want everything to be perfect and prim and proper at the home and to look a certain way and be this and that. Is it some of it necessary? Is there something in the professional side, again, like I was talking about, where you can maybe hand off if it's a business that you work in, how I can, set aside certain things, but then also really just making a pyramid of what is most important to least important, reclaiming that bigger vision. I think that that's where a lot of our burnout comes from, is that we feel like we have to go and grab from all these different areas and angles because, again, the world that we live in is we don't stop. That's not the case at all, because sometimes when we're doing more, we're doing too much. As I say, you're doing too much and you need to tone it back a bit and do a little less, just so that way you can pyramid yourself and really organize yourself in what it is that you're trying to achieve. And I find that when you do that, life becomes a lot easier and less stressful. And you actually then really are able to channel your feminine side, channel that, sexy energy that you love to have, but then also being that badass, powerhouse woman the high performing woman. And then also you're taking off that weight of feeling like you have to do everything all the time. I'm still working on that right now. I'm also still working on the idea of learning that my days aren't always going to be full days. And there's some days where I feel like I worked a lot, but am I making money? And then there are some days where you feel like you've worked, but then you're kind of in the back of your head, you almost feel like you have to have a certain amount of hours worked each day. And I find that to be hilarious because, one, with the technology that we have, and then just for me personally, I am very task oriented. If I'm sitting down and getting something done, I'm going to get it done. I'm not going to sit there and do 10, 20 minutes of work and then go do something else and come back. I'm going to get it done and be efficient. So for me, I might not be working straight for 4 hours, but I'm going to be working for at least X amount of hours a day, whether it's first thing in the morning, a little bit in the afternoon, and in the evening. And actually, a lot of my work at times will be in the evening because I am waiting for emails or I'm talking to people that are on the West Coast. So think of it like that. Don't think of every day needing to have all these things to accomplish and do, or that you feel like you haven't worked enough hours. And that means that you're not achieving things. Think about the goals each day or the things that you need to get done and focus on that. And that again goes towards your domestic life as well. And then you'll just continue to be a high performing woman. I promise you it works. I hope this made sense. A lot of the times I'll ramble as well, but you got this, girlfriend. I just know it. You're strong, you're capable, you're healthy, you're worthy. Take some time this week, next week, whenever you want, and do a little energy auditing and a little delegation. A little energy auditing of things that you are maybe putting too much energy on that isn't necessary. And again, that can be domestic and professional. It could also be person, place, or thing. Let's be real here. And then delegate how you feel like you need your domestic life and your personal life to adjust to make it feel more accommodating to you, but that you're also able to be that high performing woman that you are. This topic, I am shouting out the girls, the gals, the lovely youngins in their 20s, because recently there has been a few people that have reached out to me and just talked to me about feeling like they have to have it figured out, aka career, dating, life, living situations, etc. And also just kind of feeling the weight of social media and the world and XYZ. And it's funny though, because someone like me also who has been going through a big transition or life transition, it doesn't just happen in your 20s, it happens in your 30s, it happens in your 40s, it happens in your 50s. Every so many years, you're going to have a life transition, and you should want that because that means growth. But also, I understand in your 20s, it's significantly different because I don't know. It's funny because I have gone through career transitions and major, I've had to lose it all to gain it all back. And I think in your 20s, you just are so obviously young and raw and haven't really fully grasped, life. And you feel like you need to. And I couldn't imagine what it would be like today having all this access with social media and seeing only a small percent of people do what, for instance, influencing and things like that. Such a small percent to what actual 20-year-olds are going through and what actual 20-year-olds are doing in their life right now. Graduating college, going to college, figuring out what their first jobs are going to be, internships, switching out careers, dating, losing relationships, all the craziness, and then feeling like you need to have it figured out, or that you thought you were going to have it all figured out when you were 25 or whatever, and 21. And now you're looking out being like, wait, I'm not anywhere near to where I thought I was going to be. One, doesn't matter how old you are. That's all of us. We all think that way. Two, I strongly think that if you are in your 20s, and I said this is a time to figure it out. This is a time to where you are you can make mistakes your entire life, not saying that, but you are going to make mistakes, but they're mistakes that need to happen. And you're going to do a ton of different things, and you're going to have a ton of different ideas and feelings about what you want to do and don't want to do. And you kind of just need to let it happen and stop forcing it. Your 30s are where it's all going to start to come together. And you're going to also have a very, very different mindset as far as confidence goes, as far as maturity level goes. And your brain and you as a human being will have a completely different mindset of what you are doing in your 30s versus your 20s. Let your 20s be messy if they're going to be messy. Let your 20s be where you figure things out. And that's what I was explaining to her. And I was telling her it's all about the experiences. For me personally, in my 20s, I am so grateful for the experiences that I had, the opportunity to be able to move when was able to move and when I wanted to move. I will say I'm very thankful for that. I lived in different states, I lived in different cities. I, bebopped around, and I was very thankful for my experiences. And because all of those experiences, one, made me become a better person, but then also maybe become a better entrepreneur, a better businesswoman, a better anything to do with what my goals were in life. You will realize that everything happens for a reason, but also too, even if it's something as so random as you being in one career, let's say, to now being something completely different, you're going to look back and be like, wait, there was a reason why I was there. It was probably because I had to move, or it was most likely like because I had to learn this to be able to do what I'm doing now. So take your 20s as allowing it to be messy, have fun, enjoy yourself. Don't put so much pressure on yourself. Don't compare yourself to your friends. Don't compare yourself to your family, and don't compare yourself to society. And know that it eventually all works out. If you put yourself first, if you're doing something that is meaningful to you, if you are having mental clarity, physical clarity, keeping yourself feeling healthy and energized, then that right there is going to really, really set you up for success, truly, because there is nothing more important, especially as you grow and as you go through all different phases in life. You have to have your mental aspect and your physical aspect taken care of, because that is where your energy comes from. That is where your motivation comes from. That is where your confidence comes from. And then everything else kind of stems from. That's also too where your creativity comes from, and how you decide on what you want and what you don't want. When you're working out and you're getting those endorphins moving and that dopamine going, and you're feeling good about yourself and you're sweating and you have a routine, that naturally right there makes you want to be a proactive human being and be productive. You know what I mean? Go out and have fun. Obviously, you're going to have a party, like you're going to party every good time, but it's all about balance. And the best part about being in your 20s these days is you have so much more outlets for that. You have apps, you have, groups and clubs, free groups and clubs at your schools or in the community that you can do, run clubs, things like that, yoga classes, stretch classes, whatever it may, breath work. You know what I mean? There's so many different free things that you can do if you're 20 and you're balling on a budget, So focus on those. Get yourself involved. Get yourself involved in community, network, have a good group of friends around. In your 20s, I mean, I've always been a type of person where I have obviously loved a ton of different people as far as friends go, and had different groups and stuff like that. But like, keep 5 close friends, 3 close friends. You don't have to have a million friends, and you don't want that. You'll figure that out in your 30s. But anyways, that's beyond it. What I'm saying is just have a few people that you really trust in and that you feel like you can go to with your ideas, and that they're going to give you a good advice, and one, not take them, and two, not tell you lies basically, or not even give a shit about you at all, but yeah, if you do all that, I guarantee you everything else will work out. You need to stop thinking that you have to have it all figured out. Everyone needs to stop thinking that you have to have it all figured out. Even the people that have it all figured out don't. I don't know, it's just easier said than done. It's easier said than done. I mean, I'm speaking to the choir or whatever, preaching to the choir. Preaching. I always love to chit chat about a post that I've seen on the World Wide Web. And this one was something that really stood out. And it is, according to psychology, the highest form of peace is to have zero desire to be understood, admired, pitied, or even known. Psychology says some people avoid socializing not because they're antisocial, but because they avoid drama and inauthentic behavior. and this is actually incredible for your health. Not gonna lie, absolutely, 100%. I would rather literally be alone than have to deal with inauthentic chit chat, inauthentic groups, and just feeling as if you're having to force it or fake it till you make it. Unless you're doing it for business and there is work involved and you're having to, what is it, kiss babies, whatever that term is called. No, I'll pass. If this is for work, if this is for networking, if there's a good purpose in it, 100%. If there is not, you will catch me far away from it, far away from there. Psychology says people who enjoy being alone make the most loyal and faithful partnerships and friends. Facts, truly. I just think that the people that enjoy being alone or that can be alone have a sense of confidence of being able to be with themselves and not feel like that's a bad thing or that they don't know how to be alone with themselves. I think that also, again, talking psychology, that comes with, doing the work and putting the work in mentally and physically. Who am I to say? I've just enjoyed, I like solo time. That's, it is what it is. I think the importance of this, because if they're saying most loyal and faithful partners and friends, I think it's the idea that you can be alone with your thoughts, be alone with yourself, entertain yourself, and not feel like you have to be codependent. I think that's really what it is that you are independent or you have some sort, not source, but you have some self independence. Not meaning that you don't ever want to be around somebody, but at the same time, you are okay with doing your own thing and not feeling like you have to have people surrounding you all the time for that anxious energy or to feel fulfilled is basically what it is. According to psychology, replacing I'm overwhelmed with I need to focus on what matters most and go slow helps your brain calm alarm signals and reorganize information. I actually could use that because I say overwhelmed way too often. I need to focus on what matters most and go slow. That's so funny though, because if you think about it, what we just talked about at the beginning of the podcast or the second topic about, being a high performing woman and, your domestic needs and then your professional needs, this is a really good one because if we are energy auditing, then I need to focus on what matters most and go slow. According to psychology, the rarest form of discipline isn't waking up early or eating clean, it's the ability to keep improving quality without needing anyone to notice. Yeah, I get that. I see that. That's, yeah, I'm not going to lie. I do enjoy an accolade here and there. I do enjoy a nice, call out, like a nice little whoop, whoop, you rock. But I get that. And that's also to work hard in silence. I am very big on that you don't always have to tell everybody all the things you're doing. I do believe that. And that improving quietly without anyone needing to notice is huge because the thing is that if you're improving, people will notice. You just don't have to let them know, hey, I'm improving. They're going to notice by your actions. They're going to notice by how you have shifted, how you've improved, obviously. And so it won't even need to be recognized. People just kind of, they'll perk up a little bit and they'll notice that. And then that's it, And if they say something, you just kind of brush it off your shoulders because we don't talk about it. Psychologists suggest that the highest form of peace lies releasing the need to be understood, admired, pitied, or known because these desires tie your internal state to external factors you cannot control. When you crave admiration or recognition, you often subconsciously perform a version of yourself designed to get that approval. Letting go of this desire allows you to act based on your own authentic values rather than trying to satisfy an audience, which significantly reduces the mental exhaustion of constant social Negotiation. Yeah, I see that. I think it's just a matter of doing you, I think that if you are out and you are focused on what you love and what you want to do most, that you aren't focused on any of that. You aren't focused on the rest because you're too busy getting yourself to where you want to go. And again, that could be domestic or professional, that you're not focused on the call outs, the shout outs, and the accolades, And then if you're doing the work, then eventually that's going to show forth on its own and you can reap those benefits when it comes around. So, absolutely. Relying on external validation, whether it's someone finally understanding your pain or admiring your success, makes your emotional stability fragile. If your worth is assigned by others, it can be taken away by them. Oof, retweet. When you stop reading others to validate your reality, however, your self worth becomes self generated and unshakable, just like my voice right now. If you are relying on your self worth to be validated by others, your life is going to be so stressful. And I mean, I've done that in career, I've done that in relationships. And that is one thing that, yeah, you have to work the hardest on, but it is the most gratifying feeling is not feeling like your self-worth relies on anybody but yourself, but also too that you have your own thing going on. You know what I mean? I think it's very important in life to have your own thing and to feel a little bit of sense of independence. It doesn't have to be full independence on everything all the time, but having your own independence is huge when it comes to, your professional life and in your personal and your relational life because there's nothing worse than feeling like you have been stripped of your identity because you put somebody else on that pedestal to claim it. Pedestal. Is it a pedestal? Well, that stool. To be understood or pitied stems from a desire for others to mirror our internal feelings. When you release this expectation, criticism, or misunderstanding loses its power to ruin your day. You also no longer feel the need to explain or defend yourself to people who may never intend to understand you anyway. Oh my gosh, that is always the worst. When you feel like you have to explain yourself or that you have to constantly feel like you have to have someone understand you, it is so just draining and a chore. No, if you're having to explain yourself constantly or make someone try to understand you, then that's not your person. That is not your person. That is not your place. And that is not your thing. I'm sorry. But the people that are going to understand you and the people that are going to not make you feel like you have to explain yourself are the ones that you won't even have to think about that. You know what I mean? If you're having to stop and think, hold on, I need to explain myself to this person so they don't think that this is what I meant, or hold on, I need to make sure this person understands me because now I'm nervous that I did this or I said that. No, that's not your person. That's not your place. That's not your thing. Those aren't your people. That's not your community at all. Run. According to self determination theory, autonomy and self acceptance are core drivers of well being. True peace isn't about being invisible or isolated. It's about being so grounded in your own identity that external reflection, the gaze of others, is no longer a requirement for you to feel whole. Well, absolutely. If anyone around me does not make me feel comfortable, it's a game over. I will immediately remove that person from every aspect of my life. And that includes relationally and friendship wise, community wise, whatever it is, even business and opportunities. I mean, I can't tell you as of late how there have been some opportunities that have presented myself that I have literally felt in. Okay, first of all, I need to stop saying literally because I'm sounding like a ballet girl, but that have been presented to me and I'm reading over them. I'm reading over a contract or I'm reading over what deliverables might be or what would be needed of me. I'm reading over how, if or where it is benefit for both parties. If there's anything in that that does not make me feel like it is a good opportunity for me or it is getting me to where I'm wanting to go, it's achieving a goal, there's a long-term relationship or partnership in this, it's, beneficial for me, it's worth my time and energy, I'm not doing it. I think today, especially with how the world's evolving on the internet and how the world's evolving as far as brand partnerships and marketing and sponsorships and ambassadorships and all these different things, you really have to make sure that you're not just doing something just to get money and that you're not doing it for the paycheck, that you're doing it because it aligns with you, that you're doing it because it aligns with what your goals are and what you want to do. It aligns with who you are as a person, your morals and your values, your brand, and also your community, And that is something that is huge to me. But also, I'm not going to let anyone take advantage of me. Trust me. If that means I lose out on a paycheck or money, then guess what? I guess it's going to have to happen, but there's a reason for it. And at the end and in the long term, I'm going to make that back tenfold. You know what I mean? So personal wise, relational wise, again, business, friendship wise, if it is not making you feel good and you are having to consistently second guess it, don't do it. And you also, when it comes to things like this, that doesn't mean that you can't go and have a conversation about it. But if you're not making any leeway, then run, don't walk. I love this one so much. And I also think that goes back to being a high performing woman and then also being in your 20s, because again, in your 20s, you don't have as much experience and you are still learning, the way the world works with, your career and negotiating for yourself and knowing your worth. Having a mentor or knowing somebody in your family that you can rely on and trust in, or a friend or whoever it is, but knowing somebody and having at least one person that you can go to for those specific reasons, for those relational situations, for those professional situations, and just making sure that you aren't getting taken advantage of and making sure that you are doing the right thing for yourself is super important. And then, tying it to being a high performing woman. So that means more on, women my age, and whether it's again domestic or personal, but just knowing your worth and making sure that whatever it is that you're doing, that it's fulfilling. It is fulfilling and that it is worth it. And that you're not going to look back and be like, what was I thinking? What am I doing? And that you're looking back saying, this was a mess. You're looking back and that you have control of your life. You have control of your life. You have control of the people around you and who's in your life, and that you have control in what you are going to allow yourself to take. Because at the end of the day, you are human. And at the end of the day, your mental clarity and your peace matters most. And I also think there's nothing wrong with knowing your worth, and there's nothing wrong with negotiating, and there's nothing wrong with having tough conversations. That's something that I think is very important. And again, it just comes as you mature and as you become more confident in yourself. But when you are in relationships, when you are in friendships, when you are at work, in your career, whatever it may be, you shouldn't have to feel like you can't have a conversation without it becoming an issue, or without you feeling like you are going to be shut down or not taken seriously. I think that is just, it doesn't make sense to me, and I'll never understand that. And it's so common. It's the most common thing ever. I mean, I can't tell you how many times in my life I've felt like I'm too afraid to ask certain things because I'm a woman, or I shouldn't be asking that because how dare I? Or that if I start having this tough conversation with this person, they're just going to get mad at me and it's not worth it. It's just, and then it's going to become an argument. If that's the case, then you're going to have to do that energy auditing and figure it out. Being independent, knowing your worth, and not feeling like you have to prove yourself to everyone. Huge. Right there, that's the episode. Right there, that is the episode. We can move on right now. Let's go into products I'm digging this week. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I have always been a stan of Grown Alchemist, their exfoliating polish. But as of late, I tried the Dr. Malaxin peel shot because I was noticing with the Grown Alchemist polish that it wasn't properly exfoliating and it was actually stripping my skin. And once I started using this exfoliating TX serum right here in this little bottle, what a game changer. First of all, it works heavenly. Second of all, there's a ton in it. And yeah, I don't feel like my skin ever gets irritated. It's never felt like it's stripping. I'll do it before a shower, after a shower. So I've done it on clean and obviously not wet, but like, warm skin, and it works amazing. So I can't say what this acid is, tranexamic acid and niacinamide, but love this stuff. And I just opened this package and got in the mail this new set from Fabletics, this cute little pink set with the shorts I'm obsessed with. I don't know the names because it comes from the warehouse. So it doesn't actually come from the store. So it doesn't have the tag with what they are, but I do know that these are definitely the TLC high-waisted shorts, I believe. Pure Luxe TLC high-waisted short, aka the signature Just short. Fabletics, we're going to need to chat. We're going to need to chat about making a signature Jess running short. I'm obsessed with this. This is the 4-inch right here. These are the best. I know from wearing a similar sports bra like this that I like it. It is a push up, but if you take the push up, I'm talking, these are push up cups that I got when I was in high school thinking that I had C's. Come on. Oh my gosh, what a fake. No, it was more in college. The push ups in high school, those push up bras were like from Victoria's Secret. But then when I got into college, it was, I mean, if someone ever, you get felt up and they're like, wait, what happened? But no, if you take the cups out, then it actually is great. I do love this. And I like that the back is, do they call this a razorback? I don't know what they call this, but it is adjustable straps and open. I will run in this because, again, I'm not heavier set, but I would consider this to be a low impact bra for sure, but super cute. Yeah, I'm obsessed. Next are the longevity supplements from Timeline, the cellular energy and muscle strength. I swear by these. So what it does is it's a patented Swiss science that targets signs of aging at the source, and it's their trademarked MitoPure. It's the number one doctor recommended urolithin, a supplement that promotes cellular energy, muscle strength, and longevity. Love this stuff. I've taken the gummies, but the oral, the supplement, the regular pill is great too. Muscle strength, cellular energy, cellular renewal, cellular energy. I always have a problem sometimes saying that, but love it. I do have a code. What is my code? Go to my Instagram and click the link in bio. Go to my link tree. There's a code there, but I'm just going to tell you the code. Why not? Right? I'm going to plug. I always like to plug. I'm a plugger. I will tell you that all day. I plug. Let's see. Code Jess Rose, M as in man, C, D as in David. So the last three of my last name, Jess Rose, MCD, Timeline, get you some, trust me. And last but not least, I take Thorne. I don't have a link, but maybe I should work with them. I'm just saying this in general. Every woman should be taking iron. And because these have 60 capsules, I actually take 2 of these. And on a day that I'm doing a lot of exercise, I'll actually do 2 caps before and after. Women need a lot of iron. And if you are feeling fatigue, if you are feeling like you are not performing your best, or you're feeling very tired and just lethargic, it's most likely iron. I will say that, obviously, amongst other things. And I am not a doctor, I am a sports nutritionist, but I will say, women, why does my finger look so weird when I'm holding the mic like that? I don't like that. Women need to have iron, and I've been enjoying the Thorne iron supplement. Yeah, check it out. That's that. I think we're good to go, right? Oh, and the reason why, by the way, is our ferritin. And again, we menstruate, so that's also a big issue as well. But yeah, if you haven't had your blood checked, get your ferritin checked. That's part of your blood work. There's a section that you need to make sure that they're checking your ferritin level. But typically, iron deficiency is major, especially in female athletes and in endurance athletes. Take your iron, ladies and gentlemen. Well, ladies. All right. I think we just completed the episode. I hope you all, I missed you guys. This is fun. I am hoping to get back on track doing my weekly episodes. But yeah, I think that's that. I'll chat with y'all soon. Either way, love y'all. Thanks for tuning in this week. And that's that.